So this is a joint presentation. You already saw Michelle earlier, desperately trying to help me with the mess I might have created there. She is the development lead for the team for Atelier. So if you have detailed technical questions about her, find her. She knows everything about the product. She will mostly be in the tech exchange unless she's participating sessions here, so you can always typically find her in the tech exchange as well. My name is still Andreas. Most of you already been in the previous session here. So let me just dive right into it. So we want to give you a quick overview about Atelier. And so unfortunately there's going to be some overlap because we have a lot of people here in the same session that we had in the previous one. And then Michelle will really focus on the ecosystem of Eclipse, right? The marketplace, what is available, what do we find useful, for example, and give you some recommendations of what we think would be good to have, and in general look at the Eclipse community as well. So Atelier is a modern IDE. It's developed as a plugin for Eclipse. On the same slide that we used earlier here, InterSystems is a member of the Eclipse environment, so we're supporting this. So we have also some technical aspects on this, so we can communicate and get product corrections done by having a really relationship with Eclipse and not just a consumer of it. Atelier comes in two forms: the standalone installation that you can download from our website, and then if you haven't installed Eclipse already, that installs everything that you need to run Eclipse on your environment. Or the more preferred way, which I think the majority wants, is that you install Eclipse and then just install the software through the links provided from the Atelier homepage on InterSystems. So Atelier is not tied to any product release at InterSystems, so we can release it at any given time. There is, of course, some server component to it because Atelier needs to talk to something, APIs on the server. So every version has, of course, some server-side code for it. In some cases, that might define the functionality for the specific server. Atelier is smart enough to know what kind of API versions are available and can then, based on the system you're connecting to, offer you certain functionalities or not, as long as they're not available for you. So, the ultimate goal for all the software development is seeing our software getting deployed. So we want to get this deployed in InterSystems Iris, Cache, or Ensemble. We have in our typical configuration, Atelier installation inside a plugin, inside of Eclipse, a local file repository. This for a lot of communications that I had so far this week already, seems to be a lot of misunderstanding. It's really stored locally now inside Cache. The view is really different. The source of truth is now a file system, no longer the Cache or Ensemble instance. And getting this really thinking about this sometimes often helps answering questions about how do I go forward with this specific aspect. And then, of course, important, the integration of source code control in your environment. InterSystems products in an Eclipse environment are serving utility functionality. So if you want to compile something, it's still a Cache, Ensemble, or InterSystems Iris instance, which ultimately does the compilation or your debugging environment, or the triad of your system. Atelier is supported on Windows, Mac OS, Linux, Red Hat, SUSE, Ubuntu, just getting introduced. Not quite ready yet, but hopefully soon. We've chosen Eclipse because it's really widely used, typically already in the education layer. So kids that go to college already are familiar with the Eclipse environment. They basically grow up with this environment. So Atelier installing as a plugin is then absolutely natural. It behaves like everything else in your environment. And one of the coolest things that I like about Eclipse is the extensions and the additional plugins that I can add to that environment, which is what this session is all about. Here's a screenshot. If you were in a session earlier, you have seen this before. This is an example of a plugin, SQL plugin that I find personally very useful from Eclipse. So you don't have to navigate away anymore and go to the management portal. If you want to use SQL or use other utilities, you can stay on one workspace and can drive everything from here.
Yeah, okay. So this is a screenshot of my, my software sites that I use, my update sites. So this is how Andreas installed that SQL plugin. He added it. Oh, I have a little laser here. SQL tool. So he added that update site to his list of update sites within Eclipse, within Atelier. And then because he did that, he can automatically get updates whenever they're available. All right, and that's how you would do it with any plugin with the Eclipse framework, including Atelier. Well, actually, let me go back to that and talk a little bit more about this. So at the beginning, if we go through this list real quick, we have Atelier 1.0, Beta 1.1, and one of these is checked and the other one isn't. So what that means is whenever I check for updates, whenever my development environment checks for it, it'll automatically get updates from 1.1, but not 1.0. So if you decide that today you need to have the most stable version, it's been fully QA tested, you can check the 1.0 update site. And then later on, if you think your team is ready to start using 1.1, you can switch that, and automatically you're going to get the updates that you expect. Yeah. Can you use, actually, can we get the mic? Can someone hand him the mic real quick? Just so that our tech can be happy. We like to make our tech happy.
So at the company where I work, we were using Beta 1.0, so we were, even before the stable was there.
Uh-huh.
And we didn't realize that actually there is a 1.1 or a stable 1.0, because I think if you set up Beta 1.0 there, it will only check for that version. So is there a way to know? I mean, probably if you regularly check the website, you will see it.
That's the answer.
But is there another way, some kind of a message that, you know, there is a new package available outside of whatever is set up there, so 1.2 is available, 1.3?
So yes, the right answer is you have to go to the website to see that. But if you have, whichever update sites you have enabled, this is for Atelier and anything else, if you don't have automatic updates, right? If you say check for updates and notify me, then you can choose which updates you get, and you get that notification that you asked for. All right? Okay, good. And then I also have 2 Eclipse versions. So 1.0 is based on Eclipse Neon, and 1.1 will be based on this year's release, which is Oxygen. So that's why I have Neon disabled and Oxygen enabled. And then I have my source control. Like if you were here earlier, Andreas talked about how InterSystems uses Perforce extensively, so that's what my team uses. And then we've got the SQL tool that he showed, and Terminal, which is also very useful. Update sites will add, you see a bunch of these at the end that are not checked. Update sites will add more update sites to your list, but they'll have them disabled. And then if you want, you can go through them and enable them however you see fit. But this is the list that your development environment will be aware of. Okay, so where do you go to find all these great plugins that will be making your life and your workflow so much simpler? So it's called the Eclipse Marketplace. This is the portal to all these great things. You can find it in a browser near you by going to that website. And you can see it's very popular. Lots of people use it. Millions of solutions. And you can see just this is a short screenshot, but this list is really long if you go to the site itself. So there's all kinds of different stuff. Be imaginative. If there's something in your workflow that you don't like, search to see, you could Google it even if you wanted to. How do you do X better? Maybe you're using Jenkins. Like, hey, how can I use Eclipse? Well, we'll go through that later in this talk. So there's also a way to do this within the Eclipse development environment itself as well, and it's called the Marketplace client. And this is just the page where you can learn more about that, just its documentation and all that kind of stuff. But you can install it. It's a plugin, right, as well, itself. And so you install this just like any other plugin. There's an install wizard, and you point it to the latest Eclipse update site. So in this case, it's pointing to Oxygen. I don't know if you can see that in the back, but that's what it is. And then there's a little filter up here. You can type in market, and then it'll just show you exactly what you're trying to find. And so you click that, and you finish the wizard, and there you go. You're going to have it installed. And then you'll see there's a help menu, and in the help menu, you have this option now. If you click that, it'll open up another wizard, which has many tabs, and there's a lot going on in here. And I'll show you. We'll do a little demo, and you'll get to see what that looks like. So there are a number, millions of plugins that may or may not be useful to you. This is a set that we highly recommend you use. They're probably going to be useful to the vast majority of you. Andreas talked about the terminal. This, instead of having to go to a cache cube or whatever you have installed, you can just stay in Eclipse or Atelier and open up a terminal immediately. You can set it up to do exactly what you want, open in the namespace you care about, whatever you need. The Web Tools platform, this is the foundation for any web development within Eclipse. So you start with this, and then you can get additional plugins that'll give you even richer editing experiences, other features and tools. And then, like I said, the Marketplace client is useful for discovery of plugins without really having to leave the development environment. All right, where's that? Yeah, I got you.
Do you recommend the web tools for like CSP editing and?
So CSP, that's specific to InterSystems. That's an InterSystems technology. So we provide an editor for that.
You do have one. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Demo. So yeah. So let's just talk through this for my own benefit as well, because otherwise I might forget what I want to show you. All right. So I'm going to show you looking at a CSS file, and this is not using an editor from the Atelier team, but using something from the Eclipse ecosystem. We're going to browse through the marketplace using the client within the development environment. I will not be installing the terminal plugin because it's already installed. So just a quick aside, this is important for all of you. It's recommended if you're going to be doing, if you're going to be working with technologies that are separate from InterSystems, it's probably best for you to start with an Eclipse installation and then add Atelier as a plugin to that. Otherwise, you could be using, you have the option of using a standalone Atelier product, is what it's called, and then adding other plugins to that as well. Both ways work, but there are bundles available for Eclipse that are targeted to specific types of developers. So that's what I installed. I installed the Eclipse bundle for web developers. Okay, and this is easy to find. It's a simple Google search. If you go, well, if you guys have questions about that, I can show you how to do that. But really, it's very straightforward if you just go online. And so that already included the terminal. So I won't actually be showing you how to do that, or actually doing it, but I'll show you how to get to it. And then we'll go through the terminal real quick, a very simple demo, and then we'll maybe install an image viewer if we have time or an interest. So, okay, so let's go to that.
You want to sit down?
No. Should I? Maybe I will. All right, so can you guys see this? Is this super tiny? Okay, well, either way, we'll stick with this. So, okay, so this, I'm looking at the logical view of my project. Okay, so the Atelier Explorer is a logical view. I want to show you a CSS file, which is associated with my application here. So I double click that, And here it just automatically opened up in a special editor. It's acting slow. Here we go. So it's got all the coloring you need. If you want to do some code completion, you do control space and it lists all this stuff for me. All the great Eclipse features that you expect are available immediately for CSS. You know, if I want to look at my properties, let's see if this is, here we go. Let's maximize this so you can see it. It understands, you know, all these things about CSS, and this just comes with the editor out of the box. All right, I'm gonna not save changes, or let's just save that. And then what else did I want to show you? I already forgot. Browse popular plugins. So now we're going to go to the Eclipse Marketplace. So help, Marketplace. Yeah, these are slow. VMs are slow sometimes. Here we go. So it's going to load it, and after some time, it'll list all this stuff. You could spend time just going through the search. I'm going to just go through popular stuff. We're just going to scan through this. Now, this is slow because I'm on a VM right now. But so yeah, so you see things like color schemes and spring tools, subclips and subversive. So these are both for source control. Colors, Python, testing tools, right? These are the most popular things. And if I wanted to install any of these, I would just press install and boom, done. Not much, so that takes a little time. All it takes is the time of actually installing it. The actual discovery is very minimal, the time for that. Okay, now if you don't want to use the, come on guys. If you don't want to use the marketplace tool there, if you already know the update site, you know, you don't want to be messing with anything else, you can go to help, install new software. All right, and this opens up the install wizard. And here, if I press this arrow, you'll see all the update sites that I already enabled. These are the ones with the checkbox next to them in that user preference that we were looking at earlier. And so for terminal, I would just select the terminal one. And here it shows me, oh, I've got some options here. If I check this, well, here, I don't know if I want to push my luck with this, with trying to install this and having it not work. But I'm going to cancel for right now. And one way you can check, I want to show you this. One way you can check what you actually have installed already, because managing all these plugins can be a lot after a while. Start by going to About Eclipse. And here we have the icons of the features, what are called features, installed. And here's Atelier. And one of these is, here we go, here's the Web Tools plugin, all right, Perforce. So you can learn stuff about each of these. And if you click installation details, this will tell you everything you have installed. So if you're thinking, I think I have the terminal installed, but I don't really remember, just write terminal. And there it popped up. So I definitely have it right there. So we're going to close this. So now we're going to go to actually using the terminal. So here's the icon, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click Open Terminal. It's going to ask me what kind of terminal do I want to open. I haven't configured a terminal to my cache yet, so I'm going to show you how to do that. It's really quick. My mouse wants to cooperate with me. Here we go. Windows, Preferences. So Preferences is where you configure your workbench. All the little toggles that you might care to toggle, you get to it from here. As with other windows, you always have a filter. So if you don't remember which one of these menus you care about, you can just start typing and it'll find it for you. Okay? So don't waste your time clicking through stuff. So here we go. I have a local terminal. I'm going to add. I'm going to call this 2017.2 browse. So we all know where these are installed. see. No, wait, go back. InterSystems, cache, bin, and here, C session. So you find your C session, you say open. My argument is, what did I call my terminal?
The instance name.
I think I just called it cache. Let me make sure. Yes, I did. Okay. So cache, add, apply and close. All right, so now the next time I press this, it already knew. Well, because I numbered it that way, but so there it is. And I say okay. And so this is just going to open me Atelier. Puts me in user, because I didn't do that special thing that Andreas did with the -u and my namespace. So, okay, so now let's run some stuff. All right, I'm pretty sure I already created some launch configurations. Launch configurations are used for running stuff and also for debugging, right? So depending on which mode you launch your that launch configuration in, determines whether breakpoints are honored or not, okay? So I'm just gonna run this little, allow access. Thanks for ruining my thing. Okay, so here we go. It ran, and it printed it to the console. So now I'll just open that up so you see what I just did. It's just a simple series of write commands that told me some stuff about my computer. And I'm going to run another one. So here we go. Repopulate a global. So there, it just ran it. What did it just do? I'll just show you real quick. It just did this stuff. So normally, you would think one workaround would be, I don't know if you can see this, but this is saying, write out my global, right? But that's kind of not the best way to do it, right? I'd rather just go in the terminal and be able to look at it after I did some work. Let's say I did something very complicated. I don't know what I ran, and I want to look at this one global. I don't want to be writing, print statements all over the place in my code while I'm debugging. That's not really a great idea. So instead, I'll go to my terminal, and I will say zwrite my global. And there, it's giving me some new numbers, right? So this is just the time. It's just it's very simple, right? It's just to demonstrate what it's doing. And I'll open another one. And do it again. And you guys know what's going to happen. It's going to be new numbers, new timestamps, right? So we're all happy that it changed. It didn't change. Well, did I do the wrong one? Okay. Well, anyway, I didn't run it again. Let's run it again. Let's run this again. That would help, right? So run the thing that does the change. Okay. Anyway, I don't want to dwell on this too much. You believe me, right? It changed. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, so it does everything you need it to do. It's the connection you need. So when you're debugging stuff, it's very quick. You don't need to go to your cube. All right, and what was the last thing I wanted to show you? I'm going to skip the image, the installation. I think you guys get the point. I want to move on to the next thing. So, whoops. All right, how much time do we got? 20 minutes? All right, let's go through this. So, okay, so the other great thing you get with Eclipse is the community, which is a global community. It's been around for however long Eclipse has been around, 10, 15 years, whatever it's been. And so this is a good home base if you have questions. It's the wiki for Eclipse. You also have, this is my favorite. I think every developer loves Stack Overflow. Holler, yeah. You love Stack Overflow. So Stack Overflow, as you probably are aware, has tags for all of their posts. It's a forum. It's a good way to organize things. Everyone's aware of this stuff. And there's a ton dedicated to Eclipse. So you can start here. Click the Eclipse hashtag and then do your search, and you'll probably find what you're looking for. So just to prove the point, I listed some questions that you might have. I don't know if you really care about these things or not, but it'd be good to know that you can actually find it pretty quickly online, and that might be a change from our old development environment. Maybe it's a little bit more difficult to find that special sauce feature that you needed. But with Atelier, it's really a second or two. So do we want to go through this, or do we want people to ask questions?
Sure, go through it a little bit. We have
We'll
time.
go through. All right, do we have a vote for one of these questions? Do you guys care about any one of these questions particularly? Go ahead and shout it out. No? Lots of energy from the crowd. Yeah.
I just want to mention one thing about this, because when I started with Atelier myself, I often got an error code, and then I tried to bug her about it, and she said, it's an Eclipse error code, has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So think about this, right? So you get error codes that might have nothing to do with the Atelier plugin or your cache environment. It might be something completely different, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly. Yes, and that's one reason I put this first one on here, because as Nicole knows, she's our expert support person who's been helping with Atelier. Everyone asks about this question of, what's exit code 13 mean? And this is just, you didn't install Java. Install Java. Okay, and then Eclipse will work. Okay, so maybe we'll do one that's a little bit more interesting. How about, let's do mobile developers. Okay, so you're a mobile developer, and you want to know, are there any plugins that I can leverage? So I have the answer here. So if we need to, we can cheat. But I'm going to try and actually go to Stackoverflow. Actually, yeah. Tags, Eclipse, select it. All right, now I'm going to search here, mobile development. Let's try that, see what happens. Mobile app development. All right, let's try this. Let's try this first one. No, -1, but whatever. We'll just go for it. You can see that there's a ton of answers that are relevant right away, right? I think I'm going to cheat and go to my my canned answer that I found. Mobile app SDK. Cool. There's some cool answers. If we go to this one. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Difference between Eclipse IDE. Cool. So there's lots of answers, and they're really easy to find, right? So if we wanted to go through this, we could, but I don't think it's worth your time to do that. And if you guys want to know the answers to some of these, go ahead, get the presentation from Learning Services, the learning.intersystems.com. Yes, later. Okay, so I think your questions are going to be more interesting. So I want to finish this up. So if you want any other resources, the product page is the place to go for anything Atelier. So that's where you're going to get to our forum, which is the developer community. You're going to get to download. You're going to get to any other documentation, videos, all of this stuff. Really the only URL that you need to know is intersystems.com/atelier, and all of your questions will be answered from there. Okay? So yeah, I want to open it up for questions at this point. Fill out the survey, all of that great stuff you guys can read. Yeah, any questions? None? Are you all going to use Atelier immediately? Yes. All right, good. Really, no questions? Do you guys want me to go through anything in more detail? We've got lots of time.
On the debugging side, can you debug into like object script classes and those sorts of things? Can you?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes.
So the current version is 1.1 or 1.0?
So the current official released version is 1.0, but 1.1 will be released very, very soon. It's nearly completely cooked. So yeah, probably this year. We're targeting definitely this year for it to be officially released. We have the beta update site, which is stable in the sense that we don't ever publish anything if we know of a regression, if we know of a problem that's in a version, we don't publish that. But it might have stuff that, for whatever reason, we don't have a test for that one specific use case, so then we're not aware of that. So it's not the full rigorous testing that a stable released version would have. Okay?
So if you have the standalone
Yeah.
loaded, and you want to do the Eclipse, do you need to uninstall it, or can you just?
So they're the same. So the standalone basically has an Atelier wrapper around it, right? So we're saying we own everything in here that we're giving to you, and we say it's going to work. You can add plugins to it just like you would if you installed Eclipse as the product, as the underlying thing that you installed. It's all the same. Yeah. So he asked what the version. So what do you mean? So yeah, the Atelier 1.0 standalone is based on Eclipse Neon. So if you get Eclipse Neon, it's the same version. And 1.1 will be based on Oxygen. Okay? Yeah.
But you recommended that we install Eclipse.
Yeah, I think for anyone who's doing stuff using technologies outside of InterSystems technologies, I would recommend doing that. We can go into the details of why, but that's just my recommendation. Yeah.
We had asked last time, is there a server search function now?
Yeah, so search. Search is a really big new feature for 1.1. We know you all need, it's a requirement for development. So that is in, and it will be available in the next 1.1 update. So currently the version is 1.1351, I don't know if you'll remember that. And the next version so whenever you update after that, you'll get search. Yeah.
So I'm running a
Well, hold on. I care about my tech, I'm not lying. All right,
So I'm old school. I'm running a Eclipse Neon.
okay.
Do I need to upgrade that in order to bring in the Atelier plugin?
So currently, 1.1 does not require Oxygen, but it will soon. So the answer is not right now, but yes in like a month. Definitely.
I got it.
Yeah. Come on. I got rules. I got a mic. You need to use the mic. You're going to make me walk all the way over there. All right. I don't mean to be pedantic or whatever. But
I'm just curious, if you're on Neon and then it requires Oxygen, then it'll automatically update the software to Oxygen. Or
yeah,
do
you
have
need to upgrade your Eclipse, your fundamental, like the base.
So you would have to
Eclipse.
upgrade it to Oxygen manually, or will it do it automatically for you?
So it's the same process. It's you enable the Oxygen updates, and then that'll upgrade it.
Okay, I guess if we load Eclipse and then load Altair 1.0 right now, and it's running on Neon, and then you finally release
Yeah, with the
1.1.
standalone. Yeah, so you're talking about with the standalone.
Yes.
Yeah, you would need to install the newer standalone.
Oh, okay, so you'd still have to, okay. It wouldn't update it automatically.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Nicole, you're going to be our runner, our mic runner. You're going to get a bonus. No. Oh, hello.
So when we are using Atelier and with Git, the source code lives in the cache as well, right? It's on your local disk within the cache database and on Git.
So whenever you're using source control, the ground truth, like the version that everyone's referencing, is going to be outside of the database. It's not, the database is just a deployment target, essentially, or like a development area. But so it's there so you can run it, right? So it's still on the server, you can run it, but the files that you're editing that are getting controlled by your source control system are outside of the database, they're on the file system.
Have you guys seen any issues with that code being stale on one container and on the other one.
So yeah, so you're talking about how do you keep track of synchronization, right? Is that what you're
Correct. So when I make a change, I just go to cache as well as for Git you have to upload it first, but.
Yeah, so we have a way of tracking that. So if something changes on the server while you're making your changes, you'll see a marker, right? So this is a standard UI element within Eclipse that'll give you a warning. It'll say, oh, this is out of sync. Be careful, basically. And there's a whole view. Actually, let me just show you that since we do have so much time. So we have this problems view here. So if I change something, I don't know the best thing to change on the server. If I opened up Studio or something, I could change one of these files, and then you'd see a little yellow triangle pop up over here, and then description of it pop up within the problems view here. So if you wanted to know more about it, that's how you would see it.
Okay. My other question is regarding terminal. I saw you connected to your local machine, but it can also be connected to a server. If you have a development server, you can also connect to it.
I'm sorry, can you say, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Terminal,
Yes?
you can also connect it to a development server, right? I saw you connected to your local machine, but you should also be able to connect it to a development server if you wanted to,
Yes.
or any other machine.
Yeah.
So you would choose the SSH terminal option
Yeah, so
there?
you could choose like a telnet or an SSH, whichever you need, telnet connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll look into it, and I'll get back to you.
Okay. Yeah, yeah? All right, cool. Oh, here we go. Question in the front.
Can you show us what it looks like when you have multiple servers set up? So if you're in your own sandbox and you want to connect to like multiple, instances of HealthShare throughout your environment, how easy it is to toggle?
Yeah, so here are all my servers. I have a cache, I have InterSystems Iris, I have an Ensemble. All right, I minimize these views because I don't want to look at them constantly. They're not as useful to me. And I mean, you can do that with any of these. If any of you are not familiar with Eclipse, there's a lot of stuff you can just move around so that you see only the things that you care about and get rid of the noise. So if I wanted, I could, yeah, we have time, create another project. And let's just say that this is my test. Like maybe I have a development environment, and then I want to move over to my test environment, and maybe I have another one for live, or something like that.
Are you talking about local instances, or are you talking about?
Whatever, it doesn't matter. Local, remote, it's all the same to Atelier. All right. So let's just pretend that my Ensemble instance is my test. Let's just say that's what it is. I could do this, and then in order to, I could have whatever files I need in here, and they're all in the same place, right? So I don't have to open multiple windows to develop in multiple namespaces or even namespaces from multiple connections. It's all just one place, right?
What about authentication?
Specifically, what do you want to know about authentication?
So if I have a remote server that requires authentication,
Yeah.
is that set up once and then you never have to do it again, or does it prompt you every
Yeah.
time?
No, you just do it once. So whenever you create a connection, you give it, an address web port. You can say, oh, we're going to change that label, don't worry. Secure connection, okay? You can say this is secure, I need to use HTTPS. And then you give it the credentials, and then it just stores it, and you're done.
This is what I was looking to see.
And
This is
you're good.
Okay,
One, and you're done.
thank you.
Yeah.
So it looks like you're making great strides, but what would you say, can Atelier completely replace Studio at this point, or what's your biggest pain point right now?
For many users, yes. For all of our developers, no. I think the next phase of development will close that gap. I'm confident of that. Yeah.
Next phase meaning when it's about to be released?
So 1.1 provides a lot of improvements to 1.0, but there's still some major features that are not going to be included. I'll let him answer that. I don't want to get fired. So yeah, that's his area. But we're really, really close. So yeah, so I would say again, majority. We have all of our Cache Foundations classes are done with Atelier. Our interns, they're using Atelier, right? My interns, what did they do? They did a Smart Meetings Minutes project where they included natural language processing, and they did like deployment stuff with InterSystems Iris. They did a full stack solution, all using Atelier. So it's pretty full featured at this point.
Did you say the CSP pages, you know, like web development off of, is that supported under it, or you needed
Yes.
a different add-in, or what?
No, that's with Atelier. Atelier will give you that support. Question in the back.
Do you guys support formatting for detail?
Formatting for detail.
Yeah, detail formatting.
I don't know what that is specifically.
Yeah, not the graphical aspect of it, but the XML formatting.
XML formatting. So you're saying I have an XML file, any generic XML file?
Yeah, so in the detail, it's an XML format.
So XML files are supported by the data transfer. Oh, so this is X data blocks, like that kind of thing? Is that what we're talking about? I'm just trying to get on the same page.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Yes, that is supported, yes.
It is.
Yes. So we don't have code completion for X data blocks, but you can, it's colored and everything. You can see it. And if you want to, you're not asking this, but if you want to do editing with the graphical editor, you can do that too. Does that answer your question? Are you satisfied? Yeah, so 1.1 is a vast improvement to 1.0. And yeah, it's a shame that we weren't able to get it out to you sooner, but yeah.
Is code completion done for that?
For X data blocks, yes. Yes, that is a requirement for the next phase of development.
So that question is actually very important to us as well, and I don't know if it's coming across right. So he's asking about HL7 data transformations that are in DTL classes.
Okay.
It's not an it might be within an X data block, but not just XML within an X data block. So there is a graphical editor that generates XML code behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Is that graphical editor is obviously not, right?
The graphical editor is supported.
It is supported, and it generates
that's in 1.0.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah, and an improvement on that is also coming. It's just a matter of implementing that improvement. Yeah.
Yeah, we can ensemble stuff too. Feel free to come find any of us in the tech exchange too, and we're happy to demo that or see what you're talking about, because some of us don't know Ensemble as well.
Yeah, so I'm not a Cache or Ensemble developer, none of that. I'm a Java person, so yeah, I'm learning more about the InterSystems technologies, but I'm not the expert. Yeah.
So how does InterSystems plan on being able to basically advertise an InterSystems approved plugin developed by somebody versus something that InterSystems hasn't reviewed, but someone's sharing that plugin with the community?
So you're saying, are there InterSystems approved plugins?
Correct. Or just go straight through.
Andreas, you want to answer
And
that?
these plugins are working similar to Atelier because you want to write your own.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, so what we're going to do, which we haven't done yet, so Atelier interacts with server-side APIs. The goal is eventually to publish these API calls so that everybody could build something on their own as well, similar to what we did, or do certain kind of functionality in their own plugin that maybe gives them an advantage because it's a better workflow component or something like this. We haven't really thought about having a need to approve any of those. So
Almost
we
like
would just
if
say
there's
the
gonna
function.
be, yeah, almost if you would have like a Atelier Marketplace per se, where they're approved.
We're currently not planning to do something like this.
Okay, so as long as it goes
But if
through
it
the
comes
normal
up, yes, you could just
Marketplace
use.
for Eclipse, then
Yes,
anybody's willing to use it. And
sure, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So 9, 8, 7, a few seconds left. You're free to leave. You're dismissed. Thank you, everyone.